Excel 2007 Summarise Data. We are going to add some subtotals and some grouping into our sales totals spreadsheet. That way, with just a couple clicks of a couple different buttons, we'll be able to expand and contract and focus in on all of the region's details, or just the North region's subtotals, or just the grand total for everything within our entire spreadsheet. This is referred to as grouping, but we're also creating an outline. Not only can we take advantage of the subtotal command to do this for us, we can always summarize on our own by creating our own formulas. Once we're through with that, we'll apply some conditional formatting. Conditional formats allow you to change the look of a cell based on criteria. So if there's a certain number that falls below your acceptable criteria, you can set that to turn red. That way, as you're filling in data or opening up spreadsheets to review, all of those red areas will come to focus right away, and you can really see what you have to address. Not only can you use the commands in Excel for conditional formatting, but you can even create your own formulas that will modify the formats of a cell content based on whatever formula it is that you want to create. Well, it's time to take a look at our sales team performance. Here are all of our sales personnel, the territories they work through, and how much they sold per month, which rolls up to the quarter, Q1, and so on down the line. We have all of our information all the way up to Q4. And our salespeople, we scroll down, we have 25 salespeople, 26 rows of data, because one of those is a row of headers. This is what we're working with. Wouldn't it be nice to have a subtotal as quickly and easily as we can so we can summarize how all of our territories are doing? Well, that is on the data ribbon. So I'll click on data. Here we have the subtotal command. It's way on the right over here in the outline section, the outline grouping. You just have to have a cell selected anywhere in that range. So I'll grab the subtotal button. What do we want to see? Salesperson subtotals by each one? No. Territory. That one makes sense, though of course it's reading all of our column headers and giving us the opportunity to use that as the source of our subtotal. What function? Well, sum is what we want to do, that of course we could do an average or a count. Add the subtotal to, let's just do this on a quarter by quarter basis. We want Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Replace the current subtotals? Sure, anytime we rework this, or if we had subtotals in there, we'd replace them just to be safe. Page break between groups. We don't need that because we only have 25 salespeople, but perhaps you had pages and pages, and it would make sense for you to have just a printout of the East territory. You could just print those out, or at least you'd have a nice break in between your East and your North. I would like my summary below my data. I'll choose OK. And now here are our subtotals. Remember, we didn't have subtotals for the details for the months, so we just have it Q1, Q2, there's Q3, and here's Q4. East, North has the same. If I scroll down to the bottom, you'll see I also have a grand total. So overall for Q1, $64,062.84. Not only did it subtotal the information, but it also created an outline. It grouped it. So if I click this minus sign, it's going to contract my East information. Notice how this is around my North area. If I click this, it will collapse North, so on down the line. I could collapse everything so I only see my territories and my quarters. This will collapse everything so I just see my grand total. Those are the pluses and minuses. You also have these buttons. 2 will show the second level of outline. 3 will show the third level. Since we only have 3, it actually expands and displays everything for us. Let's go back into the subtotal dialog box. Again, at each change in territory, function, but let me add in the months as well so we have more data that we are looking at. July, August, September, October, November, December. Whoopsie. All right. I'm going to stick with the way it is. Oh, let's add some page breaks between groups. Okay. Now I get to see overall my January items. Let's check it out. 49,260 equals the actual sum. So our calculations are correct. And we have these page breaks now. In this view that we're in, I'll go to the view to show you. We're a normal view, so page breaks look like dashed lines. If I went to page layout, it'd show me what's going to print on every single page. Page 1, page 2, page 3, and so on down the line. Page break preview. You can adjust where they are by clicking and dragging them, which is pretty cool. Actually, we'll leave it there for later. And so I see my page breaks here, or of course, I can go back to normal, which is really what we're after here, because our goal is to talk about subtotals. You may have noticed, back here it's on the data, under subtotal, I could have also chosen to remove all of the information, and I would remove all of my subtotals. All right, I cleaned it up. I removed those page breaks. Well, what about this information? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to have an outline at the top also so that I could see just my Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4? It sure would be. So let's add some groupings of our own. First thing you do is you select either the columns, or in our case over here, we could have selected rows. The key is being logical about it. What do you want to group together? And you select only what you want to group, and then you choose the group command. It worked. April, May, June, group that. Alrighty. July, August, September, group that together. Scroll over a little bit. And November, whoops, October, November, December, we'll group that. Now I can see my Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Let's go ahead and make a grand total on our own. We'll do grand total. We'll click where we want our formula to go. Now let's grab that formula. Here on the formula ribbon, we'll choose auto sum. Notice here, it's not the entire range. It's cell by cell by cell. It's saying, all right, and it goes backwards. R2, N2, J2, F2. Is that right? It sure is. Notice it's not a range. It doesn't have a colon in between those. It has the entries separated by commas, though it is still the equal, sum, and everything's within parentheses. So I can click enter or hit this question mark. All right, check mark, not question mark. So of course, I can just copy this formula on down. I can use the autofill item. Here's another tip also. Do you know that if you on your keyboard press shift and your down arrow, you can select cell by cell by cell by cell, and I can just copy this formula down. Notice I do have the formula in there by pressing Control D on my keyboard. Control D just copies the formula down. It's the same formula, and it's a relative reference, so it knows now that I'm talking about row 10 in my sum. All right, so I have my grand totals. All the way down the list, I have my grand total of my grand total. So that's not bad, $2.5 million. Hopefully it's not bad, I don't know. This is our pretend environment, so we'll say that it is fantastic. So now we have this outline up here at the top. Just like before, 1's going to contract everything, 2's going to show us everything at the second level, which is everything in our case. All right, so we could really see our grand totals of all of our quarters, or we could see the grand totals of all of our territories by quarter. Just with a click of a button, we can say, hey, that looks a little fishy. What happened there? Ooh, okay, well, what about East? Let's check this out. So it's really a nice way to conserve real estate and to drill down exactly on what you want. And by the way, I could just print this out if I wanted to. If I go here to print preview, I see all that's going to print is just what I'm seeing in my outline form. I'll choose to close print preview. All right, so if I wanted to remove some of these items, I go back to my data, and depending on what I have selected, various things will be ungrouped. What do I want to ungroup? My rows or my columns? Columns. Okay, see, I didn't have anything selected. Let's select these items, select ungroup. Now it's ungrouping them. If I select these items, ungroup, it's ungrouping these items. So that's one way to do it, or of course I could choose to clear my entire outline. Now, every single piece of this is ungrouped, Did I mean to do that? Maybe. Let's go back and do an auto outline. And it gives it back to us exactly how we had it, plus just a little bit more. Here's our grand totals and our grand totals. All right. So hopefully you're able to see with this that it can really be a powerful tool to include all of your data and then just shrink it down so you can get to the point. Oh, I want to show you also, these are the same things as clicking these items here too. So it's all depending on what you have selected at that point in time, what it's going to expand and contract for you. It's all relative, of course, to what you have selected at that specific point in time. I like what we've done, so I'm going to click the Save button. All of this is about grouping, ungrouping, and subtotaling. Now let's get into conditional formats. We've got tons of data in front of us. Wouldn't it be nice to have a representation with a change in font or a change in background that lets us know, hey, we're off somehow. Based on criteria, we can get a visual representation that there's some value that needs to be addressed. Conditional formatting has been around in Excel for a while, since '97, I believe, but now the tool is a little bit more robust and, well, you find it in a different place. Where do you find it? In the Styles area. So we'll go back to our home ribbon. It's here under Styles. You want to make sure, of course, you have a range of cells selected. Then you get your command, Styles, Conditional Formatting. This says, hey, what it's going to do, it's going to highlight interesting cells, emphasize unusual values, and visualize data using bars, scales, and icon sets based on your criteria. When I click, I get to see some of the easy, simple things. Of course, I can create a new rule and I can manage all my rules. Let's do a general change in color first. We'll do data bars. If I choose blue here, very simply, it shows me the largest bar is where my largest value is. The smallest bar is my smallest value within this range. And I could go through each one of my various territories, go back to data bars, and I could choose a different color based on the territory. It's very easy for me to select these items, change the colors, and then I can scroll through. I can tell what territory I am in, and I can look at it. Whoop, there we go, almost $10,000 here. Oh, these were equal. Fantastic. All right, so when I go back to Styles, Conditional Formatting, I can choose to clear the rules from selected cells or from the entire sheet. Let's try something else now. I'll select this range of cells. I'll go back to Styles, Conditional Formatting. This time I can have color scales. When I select this, it's going from coldest to warmest. So red is the best value here. Dark green is the worst value. It's a nice scale of colors. Back to Styles, Conditional Formatting, color scales. Of course, I can roll over and see what the differences are. And I can go to more rules as well. I've got a 2-scale color. Minimum is going to be orange. Maximum, highest, is going to be that yellow. I could also change this to a 3-scale color, which is what I had. And I can really change that. My midpoint is the 50th percentile, or it could be the number 0, or if I know, it could be the number 6,000. Actually, if I look at my average for that selection is 8,458. I could do 8,458, which is my midpoint. There I go. Now I can see the differences among all those various items. I'll go back to Styles, Conditional Formatting. I'll clear the rules from the selected cells, and I'm going to go right on back in here to icon sets. Maybe I'd like to see some circles around these items. So black is bad, green is good, yellow's better than red. So it goes red, black, red, yellow, and green. Let's take a look at this range. We could go Styles, Conditional Formatting, Icon Sets. Here, maybe I'd like to see stoplights. It's pretty neat. I mean, you can really get some interesting icons in here. Maybe I want to see bars next to these items. Looks like one of those cell phone commercials there. The more bars, the better. Conditional formatting, icon sets. I can also do check marks and X's. And of course, I can go to more rules, and that will tell me, okay, it's going to be green when it's greater than or equal to 67%, yellow when it's greater than or equal to 33%. Icon style is 3 traffic lights. I could reverse the icon order. I could show the icon only, and I could change this to a specific formula. Greater than or equal to. I could do a specific value based off of a formula. I could do a specific number. Green when the value is greater than or equal to 8,000. Okay, we've got a lot. Conditional formatting, clear rules from entire sheet. All right, let's go back and select this range of cells again. Styles, conditional formatting, and let's take a look at some of these items. Highlight cell rules. Maybe I'm just looking for a greater than. And this is my formatting, greater than 8,291. Hey, how about greater than 10,000? We're really going for $10,000 a quarter. This is light red with dark red text. Hey, maybe I want yellow fill with dark yellow text. Or just green fill with green text. Maybe I just want a red border. Look at all these different options. And of course, I can go to a custom format where I can choose blue as my border. And font, I can make it bold. I could change it to dark blue or leave it as black, which is the automatic. Okay. Okay? Now, that was our goal, right? We sent all our salespeople out and said, hey, try to sell $10,000 or more, and then you're going to get a bonus. Now, as we're looking through all of our data, all of our information, we can see how they did. Hey, bam, Jack and Larry, they did the best. We're going to congratulate them in the meeting, and we're going to give them a bonus. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to manage the rules now. For the current selection, well, obviously nothing's in there. This worksheet, how many rules do we have in this worksheet? Only one. Cell value greater than 10,000, this is what it's going to look like, and it applies to this area. Maybe we want to change that, and we want to add this range of cells to it also. I'm selecting Control on my keyboard so I can add to that range. Okay. Now we don't have anything greater than 10,000. Let's change this to 11,000. There we go. So this range is incorporated into our conditional format as well. Let's go back to manage our rules. Maybe we don't like this rule. We can delete it. Okay, hey, it's all gone. Maybe we want to contract everything and just look at based on region. Let's go ahead and select this area, Styles, Conditional Format, highlight cell rules that are less than $240,000. Okay, quite a bit because really our West totals did the best, and of course our grand totals aren't going to meet that mark. All right, let's go back to Styles, Conditional Formatting, clear the rules from the entire sheet. Let's expand everything again. Select this range, go back into Styles, Conditional Formatting, Top, Bottom rules. Maybe I want to see things that are just simply above average. Oh, we had a lot of items that were above average. Maybe that's too much though. Let's clear this formatting. I want to see the top 2 values here in this selection of cells. Styles, Conditional Formatting, Top, Bottom rules, top 10 items, top 10%, bottom 10 items, bottom 10%. Instead of top 10%, let's do the top 2%. All right, so this met the top 2% of our values. Maybe we want to manage that rule and edit it. I want the top 2 values instead of the top 2%. Okay? Okay, here are the top 2 values here within our north region. I'll go back to Styles, Conditional Formatting, Clear Rules from Entire Sheet. Let's go back to Styles, Conditional Formatting. We can create a new rule also right here, or of course any of these items we can get into more rules. They open the same dialog box no matter how you do it. Here are pretty much what we saw in those menu items already. Format all cells based on their values. Format only cells that contain, hey, a cell between, how about $5,000 and $7,500. No format set by default. Whoops, let's change these. Light blue, okay, okay, there we go. Clear rules, back to styles, conditional formatting, new rule. Format only top or bottom ranked values. We just saw this previously. Only values that are above or below average. Only unique or duplicate values. Duplicate or unique. This doesn't make sense here in this range, but you might remember we had some duplicates. We have two 8854s here. Style, conditional formatting, new rule, only unique or duplicate values. We'll set a format for it. Let's turn it green. Okay. Okay. Oh, we have a lot of duplicates here. 8854, 9406. So all of these actually are duplicates. We might have our suspicions raised here. Why do we have all these duplicates? That doesn't make any sense. What is the logic behind all these duplicates? Let's go back into styles, conditional formatting, new rule. Use formula to determine which cells to format. Any formula that you want to create will work here. You can have conditional ifs, you can do averages, you can sum, you can compare entries. We're just going to do a simple one, is blank. This is a function. Cell C9. If it's blank, we want to make that background yellow. Okay. If it's not blank, as soon as we hit delete though, it is blank. I can hit Control Z for undo. That's not just for cell C9 though. It's anything within that range that I had selected. Notice it was just in that range. I'm messing up my data. I'm going to click undo to get rid of all that information. So, isn't that great? I want cells that are blank to stand out. We can do another formula. Maybe I want all of my even or odd rows to be a different color. Of course, there's a command that you can do this already in your styles, but we're going to go to conditional formatting. We want a new rule. Use formula. We're going to do a modulus. That is simply a mathematical formula that compares two items and figures out what the end result is. If the after divides, for example, 2 by 2, the modulus is 0, which means it's even. 3 divided by 2 has an odd number. That's 1 point something. So that having a modulus indicates it's odd. So equal sign MOD for modulus. I'm going to look for the rows. This is just a built-in function. It's going to look at the row number. Divided by 2. If it equals 0, that means it's an even number. If it equals 1, that means it's an odd number. That's our modulus. What's our format going to be? We have a light blue in here. Okay. Okay. So all of our even rows have a blue background because the modulus comes out to 0. An even number divided by 2 equals 0, or has a no remainder. A modulus is the remainder. The whole point of doing both of these items was that you can do conditional formatting based off of a formula. By using a formula, you have total control over how the contents of your cells are updated, and it can be pretty fantastic. Here's all of the formulas that we have within this spreadsheet. Of course, we can delete items, we can edit items, whatever it is that we'd like to do. Now, of course, if you didn't want to do that conditional formula with the modulus, you could always format it as a table, and then from the formats that are built in there, you could have every other row that changes to a different color. Well, I'm pretty happy with this spreadsheet. We have it grouped. We have some conditional format criteria set up so that we can scan through quickly and easily and ascertain what we need to from this spreadsheet. We summarized quite a bit of information here. The first thing we did was take advantage of that subtotal command that exists on our data ribbon. That automatically grouped information for us, outlined it, but we could also get in there and remove levels of the outline or even add our own new outlines in there. There's also an auto outline command that can make your life pretty easy. We even summarized our grand totals by creating our own formula. Conditional formatting was how we were able to change the contents of a cell or the look of a cell based on specific criteria. Criteria that just lives in Excel on its own, or criteria that we come up with on our own by creating any formula that we could possibly think of. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.